Live from our studios here at the Platinum Place, Northridge, this is News Tonight. Our top stories this evening. Ghana Bar Association stirs up a hornet's nest in demands for immediate reversal of Chief Justice suspension. We have more on this for you shortly, plus hear from former MPP National Chairman Freddy Blake, who is accusing President Mahama of attempting to destabilize the judiciary.
And maybe as a lawyer even, I'm appalled. I feel very sorry that we are destabilizing the judiciary. If we do, the judiciary breaks down.
Pressure mounts on leadership of the opposition MPP to halt Thank You tour after clash between Agyabeng and Bono Regional Chairperson Abronya DC.
Arrogance. And the dear do baby yedri. Men respond to anybody, and yes, I can't showdown.
Later in business, the Energy Minister dismisses calls for dumsor timetable, insists power situation is under control.
You cannot publish a load shedding timetable when you are sure that you can be bringing the plants back. But the truth is that what we inherited, we have no reserves. So we are generating just to meet demand.
Bring you more in sports as Ghana's para-athletes Zainabu Issa and team star Gilbert Mpia presents medals to Paralympic Committee presidents after Marrakesh wins. And later on the international front, several reported deaths after suspected shooting incident in Sweden. The details of these stories and many others coming up shortly. Do stay with us on the 60 Minutes broadcast. Welcome once again to the bulletin. My name is Emmanuel Agyabeng. We begin on matters of health. To ease the financial burden on patients battling chronic non-communicable diseases, President John Dramani Mahama has launched the Ghana Medical Trust Fund, otherwise known as the Mahama Cares Initiative. As part of his personal commitment to the cause, the President has donated 6 months of his salary to the fund, underscoring the urgency and importance of sustained support for patients facing lifelong illnesses. Presidential Affairs Correspondent Abdul Hanan Adam reports.
Without enough support. Health Minister Kobna Minta Kando says that the growing crisis from non-communicable diseases poses serious risks to public health and demands urgent attention.
Facility-based data from our 3 teaching hospitals show that the average annual treatment cost for NCDs is approximately 53,000 Ghana cedis per patient. This financial burden severely strains households, with over 60% of affected families facing catastrophic health expenditures. Furthermore, individuals diagnosed with chronic diseases have a 75% likelihood of falling into poverty within 5 years.
However, President John Dramani Mahama says persons battling chronic illnesses can now heave the sigh of relief, indicating that the Ghana Medical Trust Fund offers hope for patients without enough financial support.
Today we're launching more than just an initiative. We're launching hope. Hope for thousands of Ghanaians living with chronic diseases. Hope for families battling the overwhelming costs of care. Hope for a future where the quality of life is not determined by one's ability to pay for essential treatment necessary. The Ghana Medical Trust Fund will support specialist-level treatment for a range of chronic diseases, including cancers, diabetes, cardiovascular diseases, chronic kidney failure, stroke, and other complications. It will also progressively expand to cover convalescent care, palliative services, and home-based support.
The President who pledged 6 months of his salary to the fund, disclosed that the fund needs around 3 billion Ghana cedis for the first 3 years and called on corporate institutions in the country to dedicate a portion of their annual CSR funds to support the fund.
This Ghana Medical Trust Fund program is coming to help are your clients who save their money in your banks. They are your clients who do business with you. And indeed, they are not only your clients, they are even your own staff. Some of your staff have died, from breast cancers and diabetes and all that. And so, as part of your CSR, if you give anything, you're giving it not just to help people, but to help your own clients and your customers and your own staff.
Meanwhile, the fund would be managed by an independent public trust with a board of trustees and a dedicated secretariat. It will use a national digital registry, a claims management system, and tools to assess who qualifies for support. Reporting for GHOne News, Abdulhanan Adam, UGMC, Accra.
Away from health, we talk politics now. A political science lecturer at the University of Cape Coast, Dr. Jonathan Asante-Okyere, is calling on the National Executive Committee of the NPP to immediately halt its ongoing thank you tour following an open clash between former flag bearer hopeful Kennedy Agyabeng and the Bono Regional Chairman Kwame Bafo-Abronye. Several party insiders have raised concerns about the growing tensions and confrontations that have marred the tour, urging leadership to intervene before things escalate further.
What began as a goodwill exercise to thank supporters and strengthen grassroots unity has now become a hotbed of controversy. The tour, which kicked off on April 26 in the Western region, was expected to end in the Central region by June 4, 2025. But it didn't take long for tensions to surface, starting with comments by party flag bearer Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia addressing the causes of the NPP's electoral loss.
The big issues are one, cost of living. Nneɛma boɔ ɛkɔ soro, ahokyere ɛbae. Deɛ ɛka ho ɛyɛ adeɛ a yɛfrɛ no arrogance of power. Yɛaso ɛdin, yɛntie asɛm. Partyfoɔ kan kyerɛ yɛn sɛ yɛnyɛ reshuffle. Partyfoɔ kan kyerɛ yɛn sɛ
in a sharp rebuttal, Dr. Paulgrave Boachidankwa, former government spokesperson on governance and security, criticized the former vice president's remarks, describing them as a convenient deflection of responsibility. Quote, as vice president, he had a platform to voice dissent or influence policy, but chose not to, only to later claim opposition when it suited his political ambitions, end quote. Another flag bearer hopeful, Boachi Ejako, argues the tour is doing more harm than good, warning that it is deepening factionalism within the party. The party's director of communications, Richard Agyabeng, has downplayed the criticism, insisting the tour is achieving its intended purpose.
I don't think that Dr. Bawumia said anything in that presentation where I was in the room to exonerate himself, not at all. Okay. So if he gets and who, supporters of
campaign using my name, subsequently head into Accra saying I was champion in the Barima campaign. But the truth is they came to you saying I had sent them.
Some of them cannot even speak the way they speak.
But for unity, some of them, because you'd even be shy when you come to my house. We buy cars for some of them, but they come to flex their muscles. I won't respond to certain people, otherwise you would have seen a showdown.
Respond to anybody.
In light of these, Dr. Jonathan Asante-Okyere is urging the NPP's leadership to pause the tour, stating what was meant to unite the party is now deepening existing cracks.
This is even going to get a little more murkier, it's going to get more messier, and it is going to get worse until it gets better. And that could only happen when probably they have done a thorough overhauling of the positions that will be available. Some have called for a discontinuation of the thank you tour. Whichever way you look at it, if you discontinue, to have ramifications. If you do, it will also have ramifications. Probably the General Secretary, for example, they have lost the wherewithal to ask people to tone down, to ask people to be summoning people. They've lost that wherewithal. And that's the more reason why it is going to be a bit difficult for them.
Meanwhile, the NPP is continuing its thank you tour and is yet to officially confirm if these calls will be heeded.
Let's engage the National Organizer of the NPP, Henry Nana Boakye, on this. Good evening and many thanks for your time, Nana B. If you can hear me now, so much has come out of this thank you tour. It seems to people that the party appears more divided than united. Do you agree or do not agree with this assertion?
No, I disagree. I mean, how can there be... I mean, yes, we have challenges. Obviously, we have people with different views and all of that. We started from Western region. We are done with Western region. We are done with Western North. We are done with Ahafo. Yes, we had some challenges in Bono region. So the fact that we had some issues in Bono region should mean that the entire process should be called off. I don't think so. I do not think so at all. I think that it's a good exercise for the party as part of the healing process. I think that we are on the right path. We have another major event coming up, which is the demonstration on the 5th. So yes, so far, so good. I do not think that this is rather causing any division at all. Yes, people are expressing their views. It's just that we just need to be mindful. And I think that, yes, leaders are also taking cue from this. We need to do it. It is important. I mean, so this exercise should have happened months ago. We couldn't do it because of the exercise Professor Michael Quay was doing for the party, and they have presented their report. So it's important that we go.
The MPP's thank you tour ongoing now. Nanabi, can you hear me? We'll work the lines again to get access to Henry Nana Boakye, who is the national organizer of the opposition New Patriotic Party. But earlier, he was making comments suggesting that the party is not divided. Indeed, there are issues. But on this campaign, on this thank you tour, they are hoping that they will bring much more cohesion and try and resolve their differences, despite what we are seeing being evidence in the aftermath of things being said at the thank you tour. We are trying to work the lines again to get to Nana B, to get his comments on many more suggestions that have come out of this thank you tour. Nana B, can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
Yes. On the same thank you tour, you mentioned that you are not divided, but you have issues. Many have also had cause to suggest that. Why not let Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia proceed on this thank you tour alone? But you're bringing in former flag bearer hopefuls, National Executive Committee members. They believe that these could cause more tension at this thank you tours, as people would be given the opportunity to speak and say things that may not augur well for the party.
So you see, as a political party, we do not just make decisions. The decision was made by the second highest decision-making body of the party, that is National Council. And if you consider what is happening, it is not as if it is the former vice president saying something against Kennedy Agyabeng or Kennedy saying something against former. But no, I have been in the meetings. I only left the tour to organize the demonstration we have next week, Monday. So I've been there. I've listened to the message. Honorable Kennedy's message is about unity, is about togetherness. Let's close our ranks, and then all of that. So it is not about that. In fact, what happened in Bono was actually between the Bono regional chairman and Kennedy Agyabeng. And afterwards, you saw how the vice president, out of that spirit, brought them together. I've seen another footage where Abronye and Kennedy were in tete-a-tete. They were all full of smiles and all of that. I've seen that footage as well. So yes, you will have some of these challenges, but it doesn't mean that you need to run away from. Yes, we've gone through an election. We've had a bad defeat. So some of these things will happen. These will be some hot spots here and there. It doesn't mean that the entire exercise we intend to undertake will rather further divide our ranks. I don't think so.
Before I let you go, I mean, your planned protest scheduled for May 5, it's received so much support on the suspension of the Chief Justice, where you are seeking is the revocation of that suspension. How are you proceeding so far with plans for it?
Yeah, today we met with the police. We've agreed with the route. We are going to start from the Supreme Court, then we proceed through the High Court complex. We go through ministries, then Accra Sports Stadium, then we present another petition to Parliament. So we'll proceed past the main gate, Parliament main gate, then we'll go through Apogee, where we'll present the final petition to His Excellency the President. So far, so good. We are expecting a mammoth crowd. Look, we need to stand against this injustice. We are of the view that there is a certain sinister motive. There's a violent attack on the judiciary. Look, we have to be, all of us, from 1992 date, we've never had any Chief Justice suspended. This is the head of the judiciary, and then you wake up, then he's suspended. And I've cited the petition. Look, it is hollow. It is baseless. Look, this should not warrant the formation of a prima facie case against the Chief Justice. And I've also heard NDC elements before National Chairman now saying that, oh, we will clear Chief Justice after we have cleared the Chief Justice. We are this is an attack. So on the faith we are.
All right. Seth, if you can quickly reposition for us. But on a lighter note, we saw the video over the weekend between you and Ken Agyabeng, a hearty conversation. Many speculations out there. What really happened? We have unfortunately lost Henry Nana Boakye, who is national organizer of the MPP. Nana B, are you still with us? Unfortunately, we have lost him. We're trying to get his reaction to the video we saw over the weekend between him and Kennedy Agyabeng. Many speculations out there on that particular incident. But once we get to, we'll bring you that conversation. But it's time now to bring you our biggest story of the night on Insight. The Ghana Bar Association is demanding the immediate revocation of the suspension of Chief Justice GHOne, describing it as unconstitutional and legally unfounded under the 1992 Constitution. At this mid-year conference held in Accra, the association passed resolutions questioning both the legality and the process of the suspension. In a statement dated April 26, the Ghana Bar Association argued that the president's action, allegedly taken under Article 146+10, was procedurally flawed and in breach of Article 246, which mandates that the exercise of discretionary power must be governed by law or regulation. The association emphasized that no constitutional instrument, statutory instrument or regulation has been published to support the president's decision. A number of resolutions held at its media conference. First on it looks at the suspension of Chief Justice. They are asking for a revocation of that particular suspension. It says the Ghana Bar Association calls for the immediate revocation of the suspension of the Chief Justice as it considers the suspension to be unconstitutional, considering the fact that the president, who was not a judge or judicial officer, exercised his discretion to suspend the Chief Justice under Article 146+10 of the 1992 Constitution in the absence of a published constitutional instrument, statutory instrument, or regulation governing the exercise of a set discretion as required by Article 296 of the 1992 Constitution. B of it talks about enactment of regulations, where they are calling for the immediate enactment of clear and comprehensive regulations relating to matters under Article 146 of the Constitution to ensure transparency, accountability, and fairness in all proceedings involving Superior Court justices, particularly in the context of the impeachment or removal of such officers. C talks about the release of decision on prima facie case. The Ghana Bar Association is calling upon the president to immediately release the full decision establishing a prima facie case against the Chief Justice consistent with established precedents. The disclosure is necessary, according to them, to ensure that the process is conducted in accordance with the principles of transparency and fairness. As well, they are calling for denunciation of prejudicial comments. They are calling on all political commentary or statement to be denounced, as they believe that it undermines the authority, independence, and integrity of the judiciary. The association affirms as to commitment to safeguarding the sanctity of the judicial processes and resolves to take up appropriate legal measures to protect the judiciary from undue interference or unjustifiable attacks. We have joined us now constitutional lawyer Raymond Bidma on this particular matter. Many thanks for your time this evening, Council. A number of resolutions passed by the Ghana Bar Association, 5 of them, but they are calling this action by the president unconstitutional, just a week after they had earlier suggested people should be careful about commentary on these matters. How do you respond to these exactly?
Good evening to your cherished viewers. And it is always a privilege to be on this august platform. My initial commentary about the resolution pass is, for me, I think it's an unfortunate one, because as lawyers, whatever we do must be anchored on the law. And if you look at what the mother association, that is Ghana Bar Association, sought to do is actually to ask the president to reverse the decision he has made, and anchoring it on the fact that he was exercising his discretionary powers, and the law is that if you are exercising your discretion, it must be with a regulation. There is a Supreme Court decision on same which stated categorically, unequivocally, that it is not every exercise of the discretionary powers that require that regulation to be part. If you look at the decision in the case of Ransford Francis versus the Electoral Commission, Ransford Francis versus Electoral Commission, His Lordship was very clear as to what discretion, at what time when a person is exercising that discretionary powers, he needs to bring that regulation. And he was very categorical that it is not when person is exercising his administrative powers. And for that matter, the president being exercising his administrative powers does not require, or the law does not, if we will go by the decision of the Supreme Court in Ransford or Francis case, then it means that there is no need for the president actually to come out with any constitutional instrument in order for him to exercise that discretion as pertained to Article 196 clause C of the 1992 Constitution. And therefore, once this is a settled practice, or this is a settled a position of the law by Supreme Court, then I don't know why again the GBA is calling for the establishment of the constitutional instrument in order for the president to actually to exercise that discretionary powers. And according to the justice of the Supreme Court at the time, he said that if that is what is to the kind of interpretation that is sought to be given to the Constitution in that, then it means that it has the likelihood of bringing a meltdown of the system, because then it means that at any point in time where a president is going to exercise his discretionary powers, he must at all times do that with what? A constitutional instrument. And so that means that at a point in time there could be a halt in the system altogether, because it all called that at any time that he wants to exercise that discretionary powers, he need to do or come by that regulation. And so this is not a matter by the Supreme Court, which falls within the matters that need to be done with a regulation. And therefore, if this is not the law, then it will be quite unfortunate for the GBA actually call for the revocation of the president's suspension of the CJ, because that is not unconstitutional. So if a president has done a mandate that is constitutionally provided for, then what is the need? What will be the consequences of their declaration or their resolution? Once that resolution will not have any consequential effect, then it is of no use.
Now, Bidma, if you can kindly hold on for us just a moment. You have been joined now on phone by Deputy Attorney General Dr. Justice Shremsai. Dr. Shremsai, many thanks for joining us this evening. The statement we are getting now from the Ghana Bar Association, of course, they have described this act by the president as unconstitutional, but 5.5 of their resolution, that's point 4 actually, is asking for a release of the decision on prima facie case. We know, following consultation with the Council of State, the evidence for the setting up of the committee to look at all of this is the establishment of prima facie case, and they are asking for the release of that particular decision. What do you make of this request from the Bar Association?
Thank you very much. I think we need to take the Bar Association communicate within the context that took place. You know, if you and I belong to an association, right? They can make a proposal that rain should not fall on a Tuesday evening. If we have people who believe in this view, if we mobilize them, and when we form the majority of the meeting, we can pass a resolution to say that rain should not fall on Tuesday evening. And I think that is what this resolution is. The members of the Ghana Bar Association are entitled to pass resolution on any issue that you want to pass. Whether that resolution is something that you will advise the president to take, we respect the view of the Ghana Bar Association. We will take their view, in other words, the suggestion in the resolution to account, and advising the president on what to do about this. And as far as we are concerned, the Constitution does not allow any person to publish the proceedings or the petition or the decision of the Council of State in collaboration, in consultation with the President. That decision is not part of the things that are allowed by the Constitution to put out there. So we will continue to respect the provisions of the Constitution until such a time that Ghana Bar Association is able to have the Constitution amended to allow that thing to be published. And I think there's been a lot of discussion on this matter. So we said about that publishing the proceedings or anything concerning the process to constitute a violation of the Constitution. We cannot advise the President to do such a thing.
The reason for this particular call is centered on, according to your statement, the principle of transparency and fairness. Given we understand the principle of transparency. Okay, and we also understand that the Constitution is the supreme law of the land. If the Constitution says that something should be held in private, I don't see how anyone who is interested in obeying the Constitution would suggest that we should disregard that constitutional position and do what we want or what they want or what we should do. And that is where I think that the Ghana Bar Association resolution on that report is a bit concerning and disturbing. They have largely described the suspension as unconstitutional. I take it that you believe is as well not in the right direction?
I mean, that is the view. That's the view of the members of the Ghana Association who were present at the meeting. Which I also, tomorrow, there's a meeting and I mobilize people who believe in my view. You can also get Ghana Bar Association to say something. And let me tell you, you read the first letter that the Ghana Bar Association issued.
Right.
And then you look at this resolution. And you see that there's a sharp contrast.
Exactly.
So the first letter says, allow the process to go on his death.
Indeed.
And when it is done, you could challenge it in court. That was the first statement. And a few days later, Ghana Bar Association says, no, stop this, suspend the suspension, published this. So what does it tell you? It tells you that the Ghana Constitution is not it's as good as the people who are at the moment attended the meeting. So if tomorrow there's another meeting, I can also mobilize people who are like me to pass any resolution I want. That is what we should all accept and not make it as if Ghana Constitution resolution on this matter is the law which is binding on anyone. Like I said, for the office of the Attorney General, we have received so many deeds on this matter. A lot of them, overwhelming majority of them, are saying that the president has checked all the boxes and has complied strictly with the Constitution. We will also consider this view from the Ghana Bar Station and advise the president. That is all we can do about it. But we shouldn't treat it as if it's a binding opinion or it's a opinion which is sacrosanct.
Dr. Justice Ramsay, thank you so much for speaking with us on News Tonight. Raymond Bidma, back to you now. You had the Deputy Attorney General on his remarks concerning the publication of the prima facie case establishment. But actually in this particular request as well from the Ghana Bar Association is the fact that there is no clear, according to them, regulation on how superior justices of the court are being dealt with, and they are asking for the enactment of regulations. Is this a step in the right direction, however?
There are a lot of, not just this provision of the Constitution that we are looking for reforms. There has been a clarion call for the reform of most of the provisions of the 1992 Constitution, and this is also in the right direction. However, as it stands now, this is the law, and until those reforms are made, what is the law now is what it is. And so as it stands now, that is the law, and so we cannot seek to change it overnight for us to suit our case. Until that all those reforms are made, what is in the Constitution is the law.
The Deputy AG mentions the fact that there is a sharp contrast between the statement, the resolution passed, and the earlier statement from the Ghana Bar Association, where they were actually advocating for people to allow for the process to see its end. Now, this statement is dated April 26th and is coming out April 29th. But prior to this date, there were excerpts of it out there published in the political circles. Does this present the Ghana Bar Association as one not really firm on its grounds when it comes to these matters?
I think that I as a lawyer, I associate myself fully with the earlier statement that the issue calling for all parties involved in this matter to abide by the rule of law, because as lawyers this is what we sought to do. Our mandate is to make sure that the rule of law at all time is what main thing. And so if that is the call, that's a clarion call, and I think I associate myself with it. But the subsequent decision by the Ghana Bar Association by passing a resolution, for me, I think it's a bit problematic, because what is the effect of it if the president does not adhere to it? Now, the Constitution provides for how, if a person feels that there is a threatened act by a person or by elected president, for that matter, in this case the president, you can go to court under Article 2 and Article 130 of the 1992 Constitution for the Supreme Court to declare its nullity. For me, I feel that it is more or less usurping the duties of the Supreme Court in this circumstance by asking the president to actually revoke what he has actually done according to the Constitution of Ghana.
Bidma, thank you so much for speaking with us here on News Tonight. He is a constitutional lawyer. Still on these matters, former First Deputy Speaker of Parliament and legal practitioner Freddy Blake has launched a scathing critique against President John Dramani Mahama over the recent suspension of Chief Justice GHOne. Speaking on GH today with Sewa Amehia, the former national chairman of the new Patriotic Party, accused the president of deliberately attempting to destabilize Ghana's judiciary. According to Mr. Blake, the suspension, which has drawn widespread public and legal condemnation, is not only unconstitutional, but also sends dangerous signals about the country's democratic foundation.
I think it's unfortunate. As a lawyer, I look at it and I feel very hurt. And I believe that some of us panic over it, of course I won't say that. Even a president, when he needs to be impeached, why not? It's painful. But maybe we have to go the way if he's done something like a president going to commit murder. in his own house, or doing something that is heinous, and you need to go through the process of impeaching him. People will have to do that. In the same way, I'll talk about the CJ, Chief Justice, the head of the judiciary, one of the organs, very important organ of government. If it does something very wrong, it's a disappointment that we should all be sorry for that. Why should such a person get to that state? Because that's why we should try to make them comfortable. That's why we should be protected. That's why we should go through a rigmarole, hard process of coming out with a CJ. Fortunately, this country is not by some places in America. They sometimes even elect people to go to the judiciary. Fortunately, this is not what we do. Ours is like the British system. Me, as a trained lawyer for over 40 years, my hands bleed looking at what has come out, the reasons why people are making a move, and indeed, the Chief Justice has been suspended. As a lawyer, and I'm not talking as a party man or somebody whose party at the time brought in the Chief Justice. I have known the Chief Justice that is extremely apolitical. And I'm being honest with you. As a lawyer at the bar and on the bench, it's extremely apolitical. Now, what are the reasons so far have been provided for? I've read through the 3 petitions. I wanted to make sure that, look, from my own perspective, as an ordinary man, and maybe as a lawyer even, I'm appalled. I feel very sorry.
With that, we end Insight on News Tonight. Child Rights International is calling for the arrest and prosecution of parents who involve their children in illegal mining activities. According to the organization, its latest survey has revealed that 45.3% of children in mining areas, particularly girls, are exposed to sexually transmitted infections, mostly due to sexual exploitation and survival sex in mining camps. It is also pushing for the repeal of the community mining policy, citing its unintended role in worsening child exploitation and abuse in mining communities across the country.
The findings are contained in a recent study by Child Rights International titled "The Upshoots of Illegal Mining on Children's Right to Education." The report paints a grim picture. Only 18% of children living in mining communities are currently enrolled in schools, with many dropping out prematurely to work in mining.
So when we pick children who are between 5 and 12 in the mining areas, it's only 61% in school. They have enrolled themselves in school, it's only 61%. And then when you pick the age between 13 to 14, you have only 18%. And then when you pick from 15 to 17, you have 17%. So clearly, it shows that the more they go up, they drop out.
The study further shows that 81.7% of children have sustained physical injuries, either from sharp tools or accident on mining sites. Many are also exposed to toxic chemicals like mercury, with some suffering acute respiratory complications or even death. Even more alarming is the report that nearly half of children surveyed have been exposed to sexually transmitted diseases, a reflection of sexual exploitation and abuse in these unregulated mining camps.
We have recorded about 45.5% of the children that were interviewed between 5 to 17 said that one way or the other they have recorded sexual transmitted diseases. And some of the girls also said they have gone through some sexual exploitation and survival sex.
In response, the organization is urging government to strengthen child protection laws and enforce punitive measures against parents and guardians who fail to uphold their children's rights to education.
So there is a need for government to take steps to abolish community mining programs, and we think that a comprehensive policy must be developed to also take into account the issues of child protection. Government also need to enforce strictly the free compulsory basic education in those areas, because the enrollment rate is very low, and if you are not careful, we will tend to invest so much in those areas and we will not be able to get the benefit that we need.
Ultimately, Charles Rights International wants authorities to act decisively against the illegal mining menace and facilitate multi-stakeholder engagement aimed at ending child labor in mining communities.
You're still watching News Tonight on GHOne TV. After this break, we have more for you in business, sports, and international.
Frigia, you're the best.
Tonight, the Minister for Energy and Green Transition, GHOne Agyabeng, says there is no need to issue a load shedding timetable despite the ongoing erratic power supply across parts of the country. Addressing concerns from citizens and industry players, the minister clarified that the current challenges are not due to widespread generation deficits, but rather short-term issues being resolved. He, however, assured Ghanaians that the government is working around the clock with key stakeholders to resolve the situation, expressing confidence that power stability will return in the coming weeks.
We have enough generation just to meet demand. We do not have any excess capacity. And so when one plant goes down, it creates some immediate disruption, which means that we need to work around the clock to bring the plant back. But when we bring the plant back, we are able to meet demand. And so you cannot publish a load shedding timetable when you are sure that you can be bringing the plants back. But the truth is that what we inherited, we have no reserves. So we are generating just to meet demand. And so it makes the system very, very tight. And we have to be honest with the people of Ghana. The generation and the demand are just at par. And so when one plant goes down, immediately you have a shortfall, but we try to bring the plant back in order to sustain power delivery. And so for some days, you have consistent supply. There may be one day within a week or two when the plant goes down, you have a bit of disruption. But because it's just one day, how do you publish a timetable?
Well, government has initiated plans to construct a second gas processing plant which will span from Takoradi through Tema to Kumasi and will be fully state-owned. The move is expected to save the country an estimated $600 million annually and help resolve persistent challenges in the power sector by ensuring a more stable and efficient gas supply for power generation. Now, speaking at the opening ceremony of the Committee of Ministers of the West African Gas Pipeline meeting, Minister for Energy and Green Transition, GHOne Agyabeng, said preliminary processes have begun, with the committee currently working to fast-track implementation.
We built a second gas processing plant with our own dedicated pipeline from Takoradi to Tema and also to Kumasi. And in the coming days, we will commence that project in earnest. We are looking at the source of funding and where we can raise that funding on our own in order to build that gas processing plant. Because of the unreliable nature of liquid fuels, we continue to have challenges with power delivery. We would commence in earnest other options to reduce the losses in the power sector. It's estimated that we lose more than 1 billion cedis every month from the inefficiencies in the power sector, but we are determined to turn around this sector.
On the energy sector, Country Director for Action Aid Ghana, GHOne is calling for the strengthening of regulatory mechanisms in the power sector, stating that effective regulation ensures accountability. Speaking on the state of affairs with Joshua Kojemensa, he said the ineffective supervision contributes to the debt overhang in the energy sector, along with poorly negotiated contracts with multinational companies. He is pushing for greater investment in clean energy, arguing that this will make energy more affordable and sustainable.
In looking at the regulatory systems, we are talking about petroleum tariffs.
Yes.
To what extent does the regulatory systems hold ECG also accountable on the utilization of its resources that it takes? It is not just about, supporting ECG, raise tariffs, but it's also about safeguarding citizens' interests in terms of proper utilization of the resources that are generated. Secondly, how do the regulatory institutions hold the power distribution companies accountable for energy losses? In some cases, it is even argued that it's 50%. Can you imagine generating electricity and you lose about 30 to 50% of that energy? So ab initio, even though we are talking about the role of the Bretton Woods institutions, but we are not oblivious of the fact that our own elected representatives, our own managers of the government and the petroleum sector and the regulatory systems and mechanisms need to be
Away from energy matters, panelists at a dinner organized by the African Women Leadership Organization have called for the empowerment of women to use e-commerce platforms and digital trade to help drive the economy. As the dinner and panel discussion on the theme Freight to E-commerce Enhanced Financing Regional and Digital Trade for Women-Led Growth, the speakers emphasized the need for stronger collaboration between government, financial institutions and private sector players.
The African Women Leadership Organization is a non-governmental organization committed to empowering African women by unlocking their leadership potential. At the event held at Fiesta Residences, attention centered on how women entrepreneurs can leverage e-commerce and online platforms to expand their businesses, connect with wider markets, and overcome financial barriers. Chief Finance Officer at MTN Ghana, Antoinette Kofi, encouraged women to venture into the digital space.
We don't see as much growth as we could see, and I know a lot of women are fearful of online fraud, etc., etc. But if we could do a lot more using secure payment platform and get our websites linked to secure banking platforms, this will actually help us. It would increase our reach and we can scale our women-led businesses in a way that helps us grow exponentially.
Vice President of the African Women Leadership Organization and Executive Coach Sikachum urged young women to explore opportunities boldly and, most importantly, to believe in their own potential.
AWLO has to do with women in leadership, and for women to be able to impact others and impact communities, they must be able to work on themselves and be able to break their own barriers in order to be able to be effective in helping others. Some of them may have contributed to us not being very confident, not having the confidence we need to have.
That's it for the business brief. Up next is sports. As para-athletes Zinabo Issa and teenage sensation Gilbert Ompia, participants of the El Hassan International Para-Athletics in Marrakesh, Morocco, have presented their medals to President of the Paralympic Committee, Mr. Samson Dean, in a short ceremony held at the head office of the committee. Speaking at the presentation ceremony, Mr. Samson Dean emphasized his commitment to creating awareness for para-athletes.
That the athletes from the Ghana Para-Athletics Association presented to the NPC now. We are doing this as part of the proper way of creating the awareness of parasports in the country. We pray that the next athletics team, the next team that will participate in a championship in Poland will do well from the Ghana Tennis Association. As you are aware, the Paralympic Committee of Ghana is doing a lot to make sure that our athletes are identified and are able to target and mount the podium. Mounting the podium in such championship gives them the opportunity to reach the peak, and that is to have the exposure of doing well in the global stage. Global stage, where our focus is at the moment, is to make sure that we get a strong team to represent the Republic of Ghana in Glasgow 2026.
Let's now do some international news. At a hair salon in the town of Uppsala, Sweden, police say they had received calls from members of the public who reported that they heard loud bangs that sounded like gunfire close to Vaksala Square in the center of the city. The shooting happened on the eve of